Good evening. Come on in, have a seat. I've got that cold iced tea for you. My name is Emmy, and I am your favorite traumatized, undomesticated podcast host. I am so sorry about this morning. I did have a kidlit little emergency I needed to get to. And so we are back covering the Blake Lively lawsuit and case. We are taking a look at her initial complaint, and we are looking at the evidence and exhibits that either support that argument or go against it. And we are also looking at outside sources, so like Yahoo News, things of the rumorous nature, just to get a little bit more insight about the whole truth, because both sides have a different story, and rightfully so. I am leaning towards Blake Lively might have twisted some things, or just might have been more sensitive, or maybe it was just all of a master orchestrated plan in the beginning to take over the movie, because it was going to be such a huge franchise, and it still could be. Remember, Justin Baldoni still has those rights to the sequel. But this franchise was so big and so profitable, in my opinion, it had to be, because Deadpool overspent on their budget. And when Deadpool overspent, maybe not overspent, but if you spend $1 billion on a movie and you make $1 billion on a movie, did you really make any money at all? Certainly you didn't make $1 billion. Because in this case, the negative don't make a positive, and they were trying to do that. So, in one of Blake Lively's arguments or complaints is, and to my surprise, actually, is a little bit of this hugging. Oh, wait, you know what? You can't see my screen. I did this wrong again. Hopefully you guys can hear me this time. Okay. The hugging issue, or how she put it, no more personal physical touching, or, and she incorporated this, actual comments by Mr. Baldoni or Mr. Heath to be tolerated by BL and or any of her employees, as well as any female cast or crew, without their express consent. So I guess it would make sense if you want to hug someone, I guess, in the workspace, and you're going to say something like, oh, is it okay if I hug you, or something like, okay, but I guess she took straight issue with all of the hugging and the culture, which I'm not sure is really fair. I mean, I would be okay with hugging to a point. I've hugged coworkers have hugged me in the workplace, and I have told them when I felt comfortable, and I've told them when I've not felt comfortable. So from the 30-point agreement that she put in her initial court filing, came to the 17-point agreement that the parties all signed after the January 4th meeting, where Justin Baldoni was screamed at for 5 to 6 hours by Ryan Reynolds over fat shaming, I guess, or whatever. I wasn't there, but we're triggered by this. I'm triggered by the 6-hour yelling. What the fluff? Okay. But anyways, as part of her 17-point agreement, she says physical touching and or comments on BL's physical appearance must only be done or made in connection with the character and scene work, not as to BL personally. So they're bringing personal stuff in here, okay, which will give you context. But I think the lines were blurred between personal and professional, and I think both Blake and Ryan started that with their very inflammatory talk. except as written into the screenplay or as strictly required in connection with makeup or costume preparation. There is to be no physical touching, including hugging of BL, her on-set personnel, and or her employees. So who is she, like, how many people are really complaining about the hugging? Like, what is with the hugging? She includes the statement about the fourth provision in her complaint. The fourth provision required that physical touching and or comments on Miss Lively's physical appearance must only be made in connection with the character and scene work, not as to Miss Lively personally, except as written into the screenplay or as strictly required in connection with makeup or costume preparation. There is to be no physical touching, including hugging of Miss Lively, her on-set personnel, and or her employees. So keep in mind this employee part, and keep in mind about the on-set personnel. Let me just show you that since I was on the other screen. Sorry. In paragraph 74, about the experience, Miss Lively in her complaint writes, additionally, early in the production, another actress made a complaint about Mr. Baldoni's comments on her appearance. Mr. Baldoni expressly acknowledged her concerns in writing, stating adjustments will be made accordingly. And I think that's the XC video or the XC comment. And I'll make a video, I think next week there's one. Yet on June 8, 2023, that actress informed Miss Lively that outside of anything in a scene, I actually cannot talk to Justin at all. This is interesting. Do we think we know who that actress is? And by the way, that actress, didn't she say the same thing about Mr. Jamie Heath after he gave her $15,000 for a new apartment because she asked for it? Because she was advocating for her child, and Wayfair was advocating for the mother and child? Which, you can give me $15,000 for a new home, and I will not complain. Good evening, Sandy Jean. How are you? Thank you for tuning in. We are just going over the hugging Blake Lively problem and how offensive hugging is. So, yet on June 8, 2023, the actress informed Count Justin, Mr. Baldoni later expressed suspicion regarding Miss Lively's friendship with this actress as if they were colluding against him. As described above, Miss Lively and others attempted to raise concerns to Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath regarding certain of the conduct described during filming, but they were not addressed given the futility, I cannot say that, of asking Mr. Baldoni and Mr. Heath to address their own behavior. So let me see if there's any more about the hug. Otherwise, we can go further into it. Because it describes who her personnel is. And really, do you really think a hug should be investigated? So if you hear some singing in the background, that'd be the kiddo, so just ignore that. But here's an example of, I guess, a problem with hugging or touching or not, of unwanting touching. In healthcare, if someone doesn't want you to touch them, you back away and you do not touch them. Otherwise, it's like assault and battery, right? There was an instance where I worked in, how am I going to say this? I'm going to have to say this very carefully. My late husband worked in a thrift store and we worked for the same company. So it was kind of nice because we got to go home and gossip about everybody, and like it was like our own little like internal secret. It's kind of nice. Did that twice actually. Because then you know that they will never tell, and if they do tell, you know exactly who it is. But anyways, there was a story where an employee got let go, and she strongly disliked this manager. And when the employee was let go, the manager, probably in a sympathetic tone or something like it, either touched her shoulder or touched her hand and said something like, "Oh, I'm sorry," or whatever, right? During this course of this letting go, you're fired, we're letting you go. The person who was terminated then turned around and made a police report and stated that the manager assaulted her because she did not have permission to touch her in any way, shape, or form. And unfortunately, because of that complaint, and that the police department had to like investigate and do all this stuff, that manager also got let go. Mind you, this was not a hug. There was probably no permission asked about touching. But this terminated employee went to the police station because she felt that she was assaulted. So, given that context, in this context, do you think this should have been investigated if there was a potential HR complaint? Let me just check in with the chat real fast. This is about a hug. In sales, every time we have a meeting, all we do is hug each other, even upper management. I would be more offended if I didn't get a hug. Blake needs to touch grass. Hey, Jungle Vet. Is this a better time for you? We're talking about hugging and whether it should be an HR complaint or something that is offensive or possibly needs to be investigated. This is the plaintiff's undisputed facts. I'm still going through the 259 pages, but it does talk about the hugging. And let me find it right here. So paragraph 139. Oops, we'll start off there. On June 1st, 2023, Lively asked Baldoni, Heath, and producer Alex Sachs into her trailer. Okay. Lively discussed various topics, including Baldoni's comment that the wardrobe for Lively's character looked X-year hot. He's showing Lively an image of his wife at around the time she gave birth, an instance in which Heath entered her makeup trailer while Lively was in a state of undress, an instance in which Baldoni had cried in her trailer over the negative public reaction to Lively's casting. Oh, now it's casting and not wardrobe. And Heath and Baldoni's practice of hugging other cast and crew members. Mind you, this is all related to Nathan's exhibit. It looks like an attachment. I think I have that in here. If I don't, I can always redo these videos and add them if you want me to. It's not a problem. Any feedback is welcome. Also, Nathan. Oh, and according to Lively. So, according to Lively, her dispute to paragraph 139 is undisputed that Lively raised concerns about each of these topics to SAC, Heath, and Baldoni during the June 1st, 2023 meeting, but disputed that such concerns were with respect to comments about Lively's wardrobe. Okay. But so I'm just reading this so I can figure this out. But disputed that such Heath showing Lively an image around the time of his wife's birth rather than a video of, I'm going to say that word is maybe corn. And only Heath entering her trailer rather than also blank after she asked him to turn away. So I wonder what's under here. And this is Giannetti's testimony. This is SAC's testimony. Okay, so 40, Baldoni and Heath attempted to explain the innocent context and apologize for any discomfort Lively may have experienced. This is her answer. Undisputed that Baldoni and Heath tried to justify their decision to show Lively a video of Heath's naked wife giving birth, claiming that they thought she wanted to see it. So this is undisputed. She's not fighting the fact. Okay, disputed as to the characterization of their explanation as providing innocent context, which is argumentative and unsupported by the record. And we'll go and we'll redo that video and we'll take a better look at what she's talking about with all this too. So I'm just reading this to give you context. Might as well finish this off. The cited testimony does not establish that the context was innocent, only that Baldoni and Heath offered their own justification after the fact, according to Lively. Okay. So this is the Jamie Heath timeline. And when I say Jamie Heath, this is what Jamie Heath produced, but there is various copies of these. I will say that on this document, it says there's a note and it says that you can stop access or sharing or whatever. So I think multiple people were adding to this and it was just a working document. Jamie Heath was just the owner of it. Let me check back into the chat. How is everybody doing? Oops. I used to work with kids, so hugging is normal. Maybe Blake thinks it's weird because no one likes her enough to hug her. Like my husband works in finance and he laughed. It would be so weird. The birth scene seems to be changing with every new file. First, she had her legs spread wide open, and now she was nude, right? We'll do another video and take a look with all these responses, including this. It'll be a fun conversation with everybody joining in. Blake is a celebrity. People can't come within 10 feet. Laugh out loud. She's not a hugger. Fine. I mean, if I worked a corporate job and an office, then it would probably be weird. But it depends on the workplace and the type of job. Don't hug me. Don't look at me. Look at the wall. Well, yeah, that is Blake Lively's stance. And it's becoming not a good look. And it's becoming not a good look because of this, I believe, the social racial tensions that we are currently discussing in politics right now, no matter what side you're on. So, not to get political about it, but you know, these conversations do ripple and they will come to the surface, and I'm sure there'll be a factor in the jury pool. Let me take a look at this next slide. So this is coming from Blake Lively's second amended complaint. So this is after the January 4th meeting. As the cast and crew returned to production on January 14th. Oh, I didn't even go back to this timeline. I am so sorry. I am just skipping ahead. I don't know if you can see this, but on 6/1, production resumed shooting. This is shoot day 10, Atlas House. Blake took Alex, Justin, and Jamie to her trailer to discuss the complaints she had about them. These complaints included Exy comment. Jamie, he's showing the birth scene, told JB that he should not cry anymore. Told JH that he looked at her in the trailer. 5 says that she was offended that JH asked Miss Lively's sister for a hug and then minimized HR concerns. She also mentioned something to Alex Sachs that I can't recall. So she feels, at least, let's give her credit for this, that on 6/1, she feels that there was some HR concerns and they're admitting this in the timeline. That's what I think. What do you guys think? Or maybe she mentioned something, but these were didn't rise to the level of HR. Does hugging really arise to the level of HR? Yeah, and maybe personalities did not mix. And sometimes you just work with people and personalities, and it's really hard to work in groups and whatever. It's why we, learn in kindergarten to get along and sing Kumbaya. Maybe Blake Lively doesn't like to hold hands and sing Kumbaya, and she's just alone in her little island. I don't know. So let's take a look at this. As cast and crew returned to production, Miss Lively assured a female cast member that as a result of the protections that Wayfair and Sony had agreed to, you don't need to hug anyone this time, to which the female cast member responded with gratitude. Miss Lively continued that he won't touch you, or shouldn't. I don't think he or Jamie Heath will. Lively expressed her belief that it would be a professional set and we're getting good work. So apparently now, leading up and in connection with the release of the film and during the summer of 2024, Lively and fellow cast members promoted the film in accordance with the marketing plan created and delivered by the film's distributor Sony, which is summarized in the talking points attached here too. And we've seen those, but really, if you saw yesterday's video, I don't think it really worked for her because she pivoted to the original thing. You document everything. As an employer, there must be a file. You can tell Blake and Ryan think people are new, AG, love yoga, meditate, and chill, who meditated after work. We worked in hospice together, and so it's pretty heavy work. And I think maybe this is part of the ritual of cleaning off the negative feelings and everything, is that he would meditate and he would just be cool as a cucumber, whereas me at the end of my days sometimes, or nights, depending on what happened, I'd go home like trying to sage my house and wondering why my dog is freaking out and doesn't recognize me. So I'd rather have the calm, open to everything person versus the closed off type of person. And this is a good point. And since they're aces, they're probably hate that Justin and a bunch of people in his circle practice a non-mainstream. Exactly. Maybe that's why they talk so much about his religion in the press and, honestly behind his back too. Because let's be honest, some of the on his team did that too, which is really sad and disrespectful. And it just shows the level of ignorance that some people have, And I think Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds used that ignorance to their advantage. I don't know if it was Blake Lively that was smart enough to do that or Ryan Reynolds, but you know what they say, ignorance is bliss. Whoa, they are fully blaming Sony for creating the marketing. How much did Mountain make on that? 30 million? Yeah, we discussed those numbers, right? We saw that what was it, maximum efforts total, what was it, revenue or it was like what, 48 million or something? Some astronomical number. But really that's what I'm saying. Did Maximum Effort use Sony's money to buy Blake Lively's products to do all that marketing because it's nationwide? And her partnerships with those flower stores, you got to buy all those bottles, and you got to recoup your money. So it's not like the flower store is like, hey, Blake Lively, give me 10 free bottles to use these flowers. She's literally saying, hey, Blake Lively, give me 10 vases to make these flowers and resell them. So Maximum Effort and Blake Lively's companies made a profit off of the promotion because they weren't giving it away for free. Just like they admitted, in the timeline. Yeah, Maximum Effort. We did a video. I'll do a live and we can go through like all the financials and dig through all of the financials live and see what juicy bits we can see now that we've learned from what we've seen from the Wolverine movies and all that stuff, and see if maybe Maximum Effort was involved in that marketing as well. Because, $1 billion and $1 billion, you're at a zero. So they had to make money off of this movie. They had no choice but to make money off of this movie. Let's see, what else do I got for you? Was I done with that slide? Okay. Yeah, it's not a story about domestic violence. But I think honesty, talking about the honest part of domestic violence is why we went to go see the movie, why we all love Justin. Because he wanted to bring awareness to the issue and make the world a better place. And how horrible is that for someone to have charity and goodwill dreams in other things? Like, I had charity dreams since I was like, I don't know, 8 years old. I wanted to go on the Mercy ships. I still want to go on the Mercy ships. I want to create charities and foundations and things that give back to the world of trauma, because I'm traumatized and I'm a train wreck. And no one should ever go through the emotions and experiences that I have. You know what I mean? Or that my children have. It's why, here's your advertisement for the day and sponsorship. Please donate to Healing Hearts Ranch, LLC, because they help with equine therapy and children. I have donated $100 just from views from this channel. So the next video that gets 1,000 views, I will happily do that again to help pay for trauma therapy and equine therapy for kids who experience trauma. So really, she just wants to hate on people. But what they did bring up in depositions, at least on Lively's side, was this. This is from their employee handbook. This is a definition about physical conduct. What are examples of physical conduct that contribute to a hostile work environment? So they have brought this up. It does include hugging, as you see right here. They do spend a lot of time in the deposition with Justin Baldoni and Heath talking about the uh oh my goodness, the employee handbook and the harassment and all that stuff. You're such a beautiful. I am. Hopefully, Ryan Reynolds doesn't steal my story because that would really suck. That's amazing with some good. Exactly. And I feel like Justin Baldoni is doing that. I really feel like Justin Baldoni, and I honestly, he is like the emotional side of my late husband, because my late husband was a paranoid schizophrenic, experienced a lot of childhood trauma and a lot of abuse. And I can see parallels of this, like this person who wants to recover, who wants to do good, realizes their mistakes, wants to fix it, desperately just tries to make themselves better. There is some parallels there, and Justin Baldoni is the broken man of our generation. I'm sorry if this offends anybody. This is just my opinion, but he's very vulnerable. And in our society, vulnerability is a weakness. And if it's a male, it's a bigger weakness. I have children that are so empathetic, and I'm whispering because I think my oldest can hear me. But my oldest wants to give back to the mental health community of teenagers. He is not afraid to cry. He's not afraid to have feelings. He's in these teenage relationships, and he's like, how can I communicate better? I want to understand how you're feeling. And I'm like, dude, this kid is so empathetic. Like, he's looking for ways to better communicate, probably because he saw the bad communication that he grew up with, you know? Like when he was paralyzed, when RR yelled at him, and when RR enjoyed it so much he did it again. Oh my God. That is a perfect example. If they were brothers, or if RR and Justin Baldoni were in a relationship, that'd be domestic violence. If they were in a family relationship, like even brother-in-laws in some states, that's considered domestic violence. I may be wrong with that, but I'm pretty sure, because I've dealt with some hairy things. I think that is the case. I think Ryan is a sociopath. He scared Justin for life. I think Ryan Reynolds scared all of us for the rest of our lives. Who's to say that Ryan Reynolds is not watching my live stream and is like going to come after me for bringing attention to so much of domestic violence and the fact that they didn't want to say anything? Just gonna go through the comments. We got Hoppin. I have teens. I'm very into these topics as well. Yeah, I think I don't mean to say this in a dramatic way. Clarity that there's a societal shift to looking more into that. Like, so suddenly there is a shift of like, it's okay to have feelings and not stuff them. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay to cry. My daughter is an empath and is studying. Oh, yes, yes. I totally agree with you. totally agree with you. Oh, that is so great. I wish your daughter all the best in studying marine biology. My sister studied marine biology. It's such a cool topic. I would love to have her on the show. We could do a whole show on that. My husband was taught to be a man in toxic masculinity. It's taken a long time for him to unlearn it. I made him watch Justin's TED Talk about being man enough. Yes. You know what? And when my late husband passed away, I wish that there was a Justin Baldoni figure for him, but instead he found the other figures that were the man and being, and just the toxic behaviors, and he fell into delinquency. There were times when I didn't even know if he was gonna come home or not. Like I was literally calling ERs wondering where my kid was, because he had taken a path of grief and anger, and someone took advantage of that and wanted to fill that hole with something that could be a benefit to somebody else. When instead, if I feel like if there was a figure like Justin, they would probably fill that hole with what he did, like self-love, inner reflection, outer reflection, just the pieces that, like, hey, sometimes you can't control everything and this is the way it is sometimes. Acceptance, you know, find the serene in all of the chaos, things like that. I mean, we probably would have a totally different trajectory of life. Hey, girly, I'm so glad you made it. This is probably a better time for everybody. Wrath under, yeah, Ryan Reynolds is abnormal, I think. I'm a super empathetic. Yeah, I know it doesn't seem like I get physically sick when others are hurting too. Yeah, we need more empathy in the world. Oh, I love dolphins too. It's a good group. Okay, so we'll get back to the hugging of it all. But look at this all. Uh, Poking, stroking, brushing, patting. Some of these things could apply to Blake Lively as well, just to be fair. This is the disputed material facts, the 56. This is something that she had to respond to on Blake Lively's side. So I'm bringing up the hugging. This is how I do my research on our topics, is I'll put in keywords into the docket, like the makeup trailer that I'm working on. And because there's just so much information and exhibits and things, and I'm late to the party with my iced tea. So it's how I pull everything. So I do this in healthcare too. Magic keywords, things like that, just because I don't have time to read through thousands and thousands and thousands of pages of documents. So I'll do better. I'm sorry, guys, but I'm just being transparent. So this is Lively's casting and his practice of hugging and other cast and crew members. So again, this is more about the trailer. Okay, Lively requested there be no physical touch, including hugging of herself and on-set personnel and or employees. Okay. It's nice that Sachs is right there backing all this up. I don't have very positive feelings about Miss Sachs. Video footage shows Baldoni hugging male members of the cast and crew as well. And there's a video clip, an expert. So she's just reciting. This is just reciting everything, but that's the end of what she says about that. Let's see. And here's what Alex Sachs says about it all. And it's like a cutoff. Oh, here we go. As you sit here, do you have a recollection of what other comments Miss Lively raised concerns about during the meeting with you, Mr. Heath and Mr. Baldoni? I don't. So we don't remember the hugging. This is focusing on the hugging, or what I'm focusing on for this episode. At 9:42, you wrote as read, the other piece was that she was like, you, Jamie, make jokes about how you can't make eye contact with people anymore, as if to undermine and lessen the importance of people not wanting to be comfy or cozy on the set. Do you see that? Yes. What do you recall Miss Lively sharing with regard to that statement? And this is where Blake Lively is getting upset. There was a lot of hugging and touching amidst the Wayfair team. It's just seemingly sort of how they do business and interact with each other. And it sounds like she was referring to how sometimes the guys would make jokes about how they couldn't do that. But not really that. The joke would be, can't even make eye contact with people anymore. And she used that as an example to say everything is too comfortable on set. Can we make it more professional? Wait a minute. So nobody was complaining about the hugging. Blake just wanted it to be more professional. Does anybody agree with that? That maybe there wasn't a real HR complaint about the hugging. They just wanted to be more professional. And I do have a tab on the timeline. So if I don't show you guys, please let me know, or related to the timeline. It's another one of Blake Lively's little synopsis of what happened. Let me find that. And I'm just going to put this out there. This is a declaration from Lindsay Sloan stating that Blake was uncomfortable. This is how she felt. And we'll investigate this date, so remind me about this text on August 8th, because I don't think that's true. I think the true date of that is actually in July, but I may be wrong. All a bit creepy. Uncomfortable on set. So things are leaking out, as you know. So that's what Leslie Sloan said. And here's where it gets really interesting about the hugging. Let me just check in with the chat real fast. I know it's hopping tonight. It sounds like she's saying that, but I think she's the least professional out of everybody. Exactly. She wants a more professional set. Then it starts with language. So this is Justin Baldoni's deposition from 10/7/2025. The question is posed, okay, you hugged Miss Lively on multiple occasions on set, right? Yes. Every day? Objection. No. How many times would you estimate that I hugged Miss Lively on the set? So outside of the set environment, but at work on the set. Objection. Are these hugs? I'm so sorry. Sorry, this is, are these hugs that I initiated, or are these hugs that I was a recipient of? You can characterize how you like. I just want to be as accurate in my testimony as possible. Okay. As it relates to hugging, that was my question. That was the question. Which one? You can include hugs that you believe you initiated and hugs you believe Miss Lively initiated. Objection. Like lump them all together? Sure. Your best estimate. Okay. Number of times. Objection. Maybe a greeting and an exit. So at the most, maybe again, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. That's my answer to you, Mr. Gottlieb. I don't know. Fair enough. And when you don't know, that's why I always want you to answer to be. I don't know. Do you know who Vivian Baker is? Vivian Baker is Miss Lively's makeup artist, I believe. Do you know that she testified under oath in this case? I assume her testimony would be under oath. Do you know that she testified under oath in this case? Yes. And are you aware that she testified that there is a culture of hugging on the set of It Ends With Us? I am now. Are you aware that she said that made a number of people uncomfortable? I find that odd. You find that odd? Why? Because Miss Baker, often the one that would run up and give me a hug. And because of that, you find it odd that she testified that a number of people felt uncomfortable with the culture of hugging on the set of It Ends With Us. Correct. So, what do you think about Vivian Baker? But all Vivian Baker said that there was a culture of hugging on the set. That doesn't necessarily mean it was a negative culture of hugging on the set, right? So then we go on to this. This is also Justin Baldoni's deposition about hugging. It talks about Liz Plank, and then, you didn't reach out to her after she quit. No. So she quits. And, okay, this is page 35. Let me see if this is page 34, if it makes sense, because I didn't see that. Or 108. Sorry. Page 108. So it does skip. So it goes from uncomfortable because of the culture of hugging on the set of Ends Less. Objection. So I guess they're still talking about Vivian Baker. I'm not sure how my assumption of Miss Baker's testimony would lead to perjury. Do you or do you not think she was being truthful when she said that multiple people felt uncomfortable about a culture of hugging on the set of It Ends With Us? So we know that Blake was not comfortable. Objection. I think she was being truthful. That's not what I said. I thought it was odd. Did you ever hear Did you ever hear from anyone on the set of It Ends With Us that hugging, daily hugging, was making them uncomfortable? And then he's like, there was a point in time that I heard that. Yes. And when was that? That was from Andrea Giannetti and I believe Alex Sachs. Do you recall when that was? It was early on in production, maybe first week or two. Okay, so that's in May of 2023. Objection. I have the feeling you know the date better than me. So yes. And what did you do when Miss Sachs and Miss Giannetti told you that certain people felt uncomfortable with the hugging on the set of It Ends With Us? Objection. I stopped hugging. Did you perform an investigation? Did you perform an investigation because people didn't want there to be as much hugging? That's my question. No. Did you inform anybody in HR? I did not. Even though hugging is one of the items that appears in your sexual or sexual harassment policy, objection. I was unaware of any official complaint of the hugging. In fact, quite the opposite. Again, we did this before. You understand, because we had this example or this exchange before, that an official complaint does not need to be filed in order for something to violate the Wayfair Studios sexual harassment policy, right? Objection, correct. And you understood that there are supervisor responsibilities that apply. Objection, that do not depend upon the filing of an official HR complaint, right? Objection, correct. Okay. So then then they go back and forth about whether or not this is actually rises to the level of harassment. So this is Wayfair's summary judgment. And that she's just saying that there's too much hugging. And this is according to her second amended complaint. Right? So they're acknowledging that. Let me just check it with the chat. She makes it sound like all they did was watching each other and hug each other, but it was probably way less. And she's exaggerating. It was probably way less. Yes. Girlie says this case made me realize I married a Jamie and made me thank the true. Wrath, no offense to her, but it's a different Gen Z is different. What's normal if she's been out of the workplace for almost a decade? Yeah, and workplaces have changed over time. We're in a new generation right now. So this is Steve's depo. And he's talking about Jenny Slate. I'm aware that in the course of any production that there was issues. I'm aware that Miss Slate had an issue. I'm not sure of the specifics. I'm aware that it was resolved, and to my knowledge, there was nothing else brought up. So I'm aware that, I'm aware that in the course of production there can be issues, and I was aware that there was an issue with Miss Slate and that it was resolved. In determining whether there were problems on set, would it be of interest to you to know Jenny Slate's perspective on what happened that day? Objection. I believe that will be up to a jury during the trial. In other words, I don't have time to get into every detail. And he's right. He does not have every time to get into every single detail of, HR. And let me see if Miss Slate talks about hugging in this one. And we already know that Miss Slate never wanted to see Justin again. And then we're talking about the Exy comment, which also I think is in a, okay. And that's Miss Sachs again. It was just too huggy for everybody. It was just too huggy. All right, let me look here. And this is Sachs I believe. Okay. This is where she says it's too huggy. Okay. Question. Do you recall Miss Sachs telling you about Miss Slate's concerns? I recall having lunch with Miss Slate and saying that Miss Slate, she listed a few things. She said Miss Slate had not appreciated the recording that I had made. I'm sorry, this is Justin. That I made during pre-production with her and Miss Lively. She had not appreciated comment that I made on set regarding her wardrobe, something she was wearing. I believe she also said that Miss Slate didn't like that I was interacting with female fans, I'm sorry, outside. There was a lot of fans when we were shooting. And then on certain breaks, I would go and just say hi to them because they were out there all day. And if I recall correctly, she was saying to Miss Sachs that she didn't want to be asked to go out and do that as well because she was a private person. And so she was asking to not interact with, to be asked to interact with the fans. I don't know if it was Alex or Angie who told me that she had felt the set was too huggy or comfortable or whatever. I know huggy was a word that was used because I remember the word. That's the best of my recollection at the moment. So between Miss Sachs and Miss Giannetti, you're told that Miss Slate thought the set was too huggy. Yes. You asked me about just Miss Sachs, so I was just answering for Miss Sachs. I thought you said you weren't sure if it was Miss Sachs or Giannetti that said that. No, I thought your original question was to recount what Miss Sachs told me. If I misheard that, that's fine. I thought you were breaking the two up. Question. Did Miss Giannetti's description of Miss Slate's concerns differ in any material respect to you? Slightly, what Justin says. In what way? I specifically called to further answer the question. It was FaceTime with Miss Giannetti. It is not a phone call. And then what a difference is that Miss Giannetti had told me that she had asked Miss Slate if she wanted to file a report, if she wanted her to do something with it. That was not something that Alex had said anything about, to which Miss Slate said no. Miss Giannetti had also said on that call, Miss Slate had said that I had commented on her wardrobe and used the word exy. That Miss Giannetti asked if she felt it was actual or if I was hitting on her, and she said no, it wasn't actual. She just didn't appreciate it. That's how, in my recollection, and I believe it was from Miss Giannetti that I had heard that Miss Slate didn't appreciate the way that Jamie or Mr. Heath had offered to pay for her additional housing, as he was talking about the sanctity of motherhood. And I wasn't there, so I don't know. But she didn't like that, I guess. So, does anybody have a problem with just Jenny Slate of it all? Let's see. Except there's a Vulture article with her saying she's the opposite of private. Like, how dare she tell them not to interact with the fans? The fans are your bread and butter, right? And thank you for sticking with me, by the way. If you see her interview, she's so vulgar and what she's talking about. I agree. And then I will share this. This is about the 30-point agreement. Just says that list that she read from her phone. It's interesting that Justin mentions, how do you know that this is not the list that Miss Lively read from her phone in that meeting on January 4, 2024? For one, she never used the wording no more. So that's how I know. First off, okay, you know that based on your specific recollection of how she spoke to you during the meeting. I know that because I was present and in shock of what I was hearing and paid very close attention to the words, and no more was never used. It also says an updated list. So I'm not sure when it was updated. Well, apart from your identification of no more, do you have any other reason to believe that this list is not what Miss Lively read from during the meeting? Objection. I think that's a big one. I mean, the fact that she never said no more shows it's not the same list. I'm asking if there's any other reason. Yes, there are certain. I would say there's quite a few things in here that were not read or discussed that day. Do you recall Miss Lively saying during that meeting that this was the worst experience of her life? I do. Do you recall her saying during the meeting that others had witnessed this behavior? Objection. I don't remember those exact words. No. Do you recall the words creepy or abuse being used in reference to your behavior? I definitely don't remember the word abuse. I think I remember the word creepy. I'm going to skip this one because that one's just so really disrespectful to yeah. And then they're talking about just, you know, that whole thing. So, what do you think about the hug? For everybody that's still, some people have them and some don't. I don't get what criteria do you need for the hype. What is the hype? There's not a hype. Just reading some of your comments. She thinks The Shawshank Redemption is a funny movie. Yeah, that was a very weird interview. But in this case, because Jenny Slate did not want to file an HR complaint, should there have been an investigation in the end? And if they did an investigation, would that investigation later look as an intimidation move conduct? Like, hey, you didn't report this to HR, but I'm gonna come talk to you about it anyway. Oh, hype my channel. I appreciate that, you guys. Just like, share, subscribe. I think we're getting there. We're getting a lot. I just want to thank everybody's having patience with me while I figure all of this out. So was this hug really an HR offense? Also, I would love your guys' feedback. I am in talks with Julie from I believe it's Julie in the recap. And we are going to have a small debate. And I would love your ideas on what to debate about her over the topic, and what examples or exhibits you would love to give me from current to past to whatever. Very interesting collab. I have very differing views from Julie, and I think Julie has some very differing views from myself. And I just kind of want to see what kind of evidence she can come up with, and I want to see what kind of evidence I can come up with, and see what you guys think and who really might be the winner in all of this, as far as a creator debate on, the whole lawsuit. But I really thank you for joining me on the show at 6:15 a.m. So Pacific Standard Time. Tomorrow, I think we're talking about the trailer and what happened in that. Otherwise, I'll have to check what my schedule is. Who is Julie? Who is Julie? So Julie from the recap is, I believe she's a monetized creator. She has a lot of content on the Blake Lively lawsuit from a pro Blake Lively stance. She kind of does what I do. What I do, she reads some of the. She does read the court documents. She gives her opinion, but they're more skewed to Blake Lively's audience and supporters, and they're skewed less and skewed against probably the Justin Baldoni argument side of it. And I kind of just wanted to like pick her brain and kind of like show some of the fans some of the other evidence that she may not be presenting on that side, and just showing like a different lens, and just having like a healthy adult debate without cussing at each other or whatever. But it would be nice to be like, hey, Blake fans, did you not notice this phone stuff that was stolen that she admits to? So yeah, might be interesting. All right, guys, I'll see you tomorrow or tomorrow morning. Sleep tight and subscribe, comment, like, and I always need you guys on the rewatch team. So don't be afraid to check out my other videos. And I do have a paranormal playlist. Yes, I do have a paranormal train wreck experience there too. So check that out. And we'll see you tomorrow. Bye, guys.